Whoa. I don't got makeup on right now. So authenticity is in vogue right now. So while I was kind of just, like, moping around today, instead of, I had an idea I thought would be, like, I don't know, could make for a good video. I really don't feel like doing a full face of makeup right now. I don't even feel like doing eyeliner right now. I don't think I'm all that presentable. My bangs have been growing out for a lot longer than I have wanted them to. Because I thought if I could do the side sweep and have one eye completely obscured by, like, my hair, that would, like, be cool or something. I don't think I really like it this way. I think, maybe before my next, like, Angry Tranny Gamer video, I thought I could have it out for that, and then I would get it cut short. I just might get it cut short anyways, because, like, this just isn't doing it for me, IMO. So YouTube. What value does YouTube really have in one's own life? Obviously this is kind of hypocritical. I'm a YouTuber. I don't know how I really feel about that label, honestly. Like, I have long been somebody who has wanted to be someone who is, like, well-known on YouTube. When I was, like, 11, I would record videos of me in, like, Club Penguin. I had, like, 10 subscribers, and I would be like, hey guys, look at me, I'm famous. And I was, like, a kid. My, I wanted to be, like, a star. I didn't know what that meant at that point in my life. But I had this idea, like, that I thought this, this vague idea of being, like, a star, was, like, very appealing to me. This is all off track, because I want to get to the point about, like, YouTube, and, YouTube just isn't cool anymore, and quite frankly, I don't remember how long it's been since I thought YouTube is cool. When I was a kid, for sure, like, even as late as 2013, I thought, like, YouTube is cool. Because that's where people post these, like, funny shitpost videos. That's where people, have, like, insights about, like, video games, or, like, cartoons, or, like, anime. It wasn't insights then, it was, like, reviews. But, that's not, no, I'm not gonna discredit that. When I was a kid, like a teenager, like a kid, still a kid, I genuinely thought, like, the Nostalgia Critic had some, like, insightful criticisms, of, like, the movies he reviewed, and even then, I thought the way people sort of talked about their criticisms was, like, entertaining. And, and the landscape has drastically changed. I was kind of off of YouTube, not entirely off, but I was, like, kind of away for a bit throughout, like, 2014, and, like, 2015, it was around then my mom was like, hey, I don't want you using YouTube actually, because, like, I'm not gonna talk about my mom in this video, because that's not what it's about. But, so, I kind of, by, like, late 2015, I'm, like, fully immersed in YouTube again. Arguably more than I was as a kid. And I don't think I quite realized at that point how much things really changed. I think it took a while for me to register just how different it was. This wasn't the same, like, website that I grew up on, even though, like, the URL is the exact fucking same. This was not the website that I grew up on, that I had so much fun with. It's... videos are cleaner now. like, people, you know, if, like, videos like this were not in vogue. So, and like, I get, when you don't see this in my rant videos, you don't see this, I have my window open. You don't see this in between in any of my other videos because I think it, like, totally kills the pacing. If I've got, like, a 30-minute video and, like, 5 minutes is me talking about my point and the rest of it is me going, but, like, you know, I want to get to, like, point being, YouTube wasn't the same. And honestly, for a while, like, I was like, okay, well, you know, out with the old, in with the new, you know, I had fun with that side of YouTube. Like, I don't know, I think I definitely was, like, like, even though throughout most of that, like, I was still watching a lot of the same channels, like, you know, when I got back into the YouTube, I watched the same channels. I still watched the Nostalgia Critic. I watched, you know, AVGN, Rebel Taxi, like, J-Wits. Those were very big, like, YouTubers for me. In, like, my sort of middle school years, like, my favorites at that point. But, you know, I think as I sort of begun to sort of, you know, I had channels like, formerly Digibro, now Trixie the Golden Witch, kind of, like, channeled my way. That's not a thing people say, but, like, what fucking ever. When I had these brought to my attention, I thought, like, you know, wow, this is, like, very, you know, different. It was, like, eye-opening, the way she, in those older videos, had sort of, like, talked about anime, or media in general in a way I had, like, never considered before. That it was, you know, was, like, mind-blowing. And I think, you know, by that point, and this isn't dismissive to people, this isn't dismissive to her, apparently she's fucking subscribed to me, which is really fucking weird to think about. But, like, should I cut this video down? Nah, fuck it. I'm keeping all this in, and you gotta deal with that, bitch. If I, like, watch this video back and I'm like, oh, I actually look ugly in this video, you're probably not gonna see it. Or I decided that, like, it was worth the that, like, you know, I can look ugly in a video. But, you know, I see this, like, new YouTube, and I thought, and I was only seeing a small part of it. I wasn't really into, like, you know, the, like, Minecraft Let's Plays, or, like, the, you know, more relevantly to my interests, as I was at that point, you know, like, Game Grumps, you know, or whatever. I thought, I honestly thought that side of YouTube was, like, a little cringe. I thought I was, like, above it. You know, the YouTube that YouTube the corporation was selling to its audience in the form, you know, in, like, YouTube rewinds and shit. Like, the faces they packed in that was not the side of YouTube I was interested in. However, I was very interested in this, like, slowly blossoming, side of YouTube, which, has since become to be known by, I don't know if I said that sentence right, you gotta fucking deal with it if I didn't, as video essays. It wasn't called that at that point, but that style of, like, analysis video, which is so oversaturated in this day and age, was, like, you know, again, it was, like, it fucking completely blew my mind, as I in, like, my teenage years. And fast forward a couple years, I would sort of have that again with, like, ContraPoints and, like, H-Bomber Guy. You know, what we now know as BreadTube, despite, it's very amusing to me that that's still a term that, like, I see people use, because, like, the people who are classified as BreadTube, though, like, the original sort of, creators. It was not something they called themselves. People just called them that and decided that it was a problem that they were a part of it. But I thought that was also another thing, as like a teenager, that I thought was completely like eye-opening, and it exposed me to these ideas in ways I simply could have not imagined before. And then the pandemic happened, and then and then all of a sudden it's like everybody wants to be the next ContraPoints, the next Philosophy Tube, the next Lindsay Ellis. And I was kind of into that at first. I thought, I think it's cool that, there's more people who are providing these insights. But the sort of rule of thumb with anything like this is that the more of something there is, the more likely it'll be that the vast majority is just not good. And I think that's what's happened now. As someone who is very into video quote-unquote essays, you might have noticed right there I did it again, that every time I mention it, I do it with, the air quotes, or quotes if I'm typing it out. And that's because I don't think a lot of these videos, provide much insight at all. I think essay is a misnomer a lot of the time, because a lot of the time I feel like I'm just having information regurgitated to me that I could just pick up. If, for example, a video essay on, a TV show, I feel like, wow, I could have gotten all of that for myself if I just watched the fucking TV show. I completely lost my train of thought. Will I edit this out? Who knows? You will, if I don't. I'd close my window, but, it's kind of warm in here. And I don't have my AC in this room because I don't think it's quite the season for it at this moment. Oh, who the fuck am I kidding? Yeah, no, it's 80, it was 80 degrees today or something. So, all this talk about YouTube and how previously I had adopted this, out with the old, in with the new mindset. And I think as YouTube has further developed into the absolute cesspool it is today, before we even had this fucking AI apocalypse that is completely, dumped, has been dumped all over this website like a fucking landfill. Even before that, I thought this platform had become kind of garbage. I have a video I made about that, 2 years ago at this point. YouTube sucks now, and I'm fixing it. Did I fix YouTube? I don't really know. I don't know. I feel like if I did the goal, my goal would have been that I would have made videos I wanted to make. And realistically, I think, this ideal outcome where I get, a bajillion subscribers, which I never really wanted. I don't know if I'll get to that subscriber count. I don't know if I want to, honestly, but, if that happens, what do I think would happen? I think people would just copy what I'm doing. And I think they would do it in less interesting ways. This isn't to say that what I'm doing is, fully original. I'm, the first person on YouTube, on modern YouTube, who's recorded shit with, a bad camcorder, with an old camcorder, and has, recreated the style of those older videos, which existed the way they did because of limitations. Obviously, I'm not the first person to have done that, and I'm not gonna act like I'm the best at doing that. But I think, if I truly fixed YouTube, that's just what would happen. And maybe it would be better. But what would what do I get from YouTube these days? What do I actually get out of YouTube these days? What is the benefit of YouTube to my life these days? Yes, there is still, like, a lot of videos on here that I'm excited for. I'm excited to see. Every time there's, like, a new Hazel video, it's like, pop those champagne bottles. You know, every time there's every time there's, like, a new, like, Magic Mush video. Or, you know, and I think people feel that way about my channel. I think there's people who probably, you know, every time there's, like, a new Angry Tranny Gamer video, they're like, I'm eating well today. And that does make me happy. I think that's the best benefit YouTube has to me, is it provides me a creative outlet. And I think that is wonderful in its own right. However, I just think, like, YouTube as it is now is, like, kind of garbage. I don't need to tell you why. You know why YouTube is bad. You've heard it from so many other people before, if you are on this website as much as I am. I don't even, like... I think I've been kind of aware for a while now that YouTube is actively detrimental to my life. I don't think, like, it's very productive, and you know, honestly, I don't even know if that's a good way to put it, because productivity sort of has this implication that, like, I should only be doing things in my free time that are, you know, quote-unquote productive. I don't think that's true. I think things that are unproductive can be equally, like, worthwhile of your time. I think watching an episode of, like, King of the Hill or, like, The Simpsons in the time I could be using to watch a YouTube video is a much better use of my time. The problem there, and maybe this is a way of conditioning myself to think, is that if I'm watching YouTube, it's because I don't have the attention span to spare for an episode of, like, Kamen Rider Den-O or something. And that's really a shame that, like, an episode of something I enjoy is effort. That I have to, like, mentally prepare myself to sit down in front of my computer for 20 minutes and focus. And maybe the bigger problem is I'm watching it on my computer instead of a TV. You know, I think every time I'm watching an episode of something I'm enjoying, every time I'm watching Kamen Rider Den-O, I hear a Discord notification, or Windows gives me a notification. I think that's actively putting a damper on my experience of the show. You know, I think every time I hear my computer fan very loudly whirring, I think that's lowering my enjoyment. You know what would solve this issue? If I had the show on a Blu-ray, if I had more physical media, then I can watch it in my living room. That's not entirely serious, obviously. I think there's ways you can do that without physical media. But I think it would be a band-aid solution. That's a lot I had to say here. I don't know how much of it was actually meaningful. Does YouTube suck now? Yeah, obviously. Obviously it sucks. I think I had a point earlier I wanted to make. Is that, you know, eventually that I abandoned this out with the old, in with the new mindset. When I realized just how bad the website I had gotten, and I did find myself yearning for those old days that are, despite my best attempt to recreate them, they're gone. Those days aren't coming back. Yes, I can recreate them. Yes, sometimes I can even get the same feelings I did when I was watching, like, fucking Pokemon spoof at 9 years old on YouTube. But those days are gone. I'm not the same person I was then. You know, like, even though I can emulate these to the best of my ability, even if I can put myself into that mind space, what am I doing? Like, it's not the same YouTube. You know, I think it's better than any Mr. Beast video. I think it's better than, honestly, like 90% of videos you'll find in your homepage that are just reading a Wikipedia article about, like, I don't know, like Vocaloid. I have a Hatsune Miku plushie hanging right there. That's why I thought of Vocaloid. You know, I think it's certainly a better use of your time than like a 3-hour video essay on like why Over the Hedge is like a revolutionary communist masterpiece. But I don't think YouTube's good. I think if I had cable and I just turned the TV on, I think that would unironically be a better use of my time. I think that's all I have to say about this subject. I should probably make dinner. I'm hungry. Never forget, trans girls rule the fucking world.